Takbir! Takbir! Yeah, man, I'm sitting next to that nigga Ralo. Hey, fuck 12! You saying that you never said that you didn't do it, but you had me believing for 5 years that you kept it solid, dog. And in the paperwork, it say that in 2 months, y'all got locked up in April. In June 6th, you gave a proffer. And you gave up information. You gave them folk the code to your phone and let them review it in your presence. That's what the paperwork say. But so if you saying that you gave them just the phone information because you knew nothing was in the phone, what about this shit on page 12, line 12 and 13, where it say he is cooperating against heroin, methamphetamine, he knows about shootings and the marijuana. That's what the transcript say.
Okay, I'm not opposition to that. Listen, when you go in there, they ask you other questions. I made my presentation. They started asking other questions.
You know the code though. That's what I'm saying. You know the code. You ain't supposed to have no meeting with them folks in the first place.
Queen, I was presented a situation that other. Only reason why you know about this is because of the prosecution misconduct hearing. All these rap niggas pay that money to get out of jail.
But we ain't these rap niggas though.
Listen, please consider this. I got caught with this shit on the plane, shake. What the fuck you thought I was gonna do?
Take your lick. Like shit, it's just some weed. Well, okay. Look, listen. Remember when before you got locked up, I used to always tell you, "Hey, don't do this. Hey, don't do that. Hey,
I agree with you, Shay.
And you used to tell me, it's just some weed. So if it's just some weed, why you ain't just go in there and chin up?
They solid, nigga. Some of us gonna make it, some of us ain't. That's just how it gonna be.
They talk about the people who, I had to make it look juicy for them.
It hurt me to my heart to know that Ralo actually turned out to be a rat. Actually been a rat for 5 years. You know? you gotta start putting timestamps on rats. Like, yo, how long he been a rat? Oh, he been a rat for 20 years. You know what I mean? Like, yo, we gotta start doing it that way, man. Straight up. We gotta put a timestamp on it, yo, so we know exactly what year this person went south. Yo, what it is, people, we is back. Another day on Keep It G News. And I gotta keep it real with y'all, man. Ralo telling Get Dough that he had to keep it juicy for the feds. Gotta be one of the funniest things I've heard in the year 2023. Did you hear the man say, I gotta keep it juicy for him? Yo, it's man crazy. I don't know what he was thinking. For the people that's not familiar with Ralo's whole situation, Ralo thought he was going to run the play on the feds. And he ended up getting the play ran on him. Now, in this video, for the people that forgot, I'm going to detail what happened with Ralo because I think a lot of people still don't understand how is it that Ralo ratted. And I did a video on it. I don't think it did too good. Might have did 100 views. If you ask me, I think it was the best video on this whole situation because I really broke down what Ralo actually tried to do and how it blew up in his favor. Blew up in his face. Now, in this video, I'm not going to play or go through the whole document because I think the documents took me like 30 minutes to read. So I just took out 5 minutes of what I thought was some of the key points in this whole document. Just to show y'all what's going on with Ralo. And I can't say I'm amazed, but the welcoming that Ralo was getting for his scheduled release is disappointing, man. I'm disappointed, man. Even though I'm happy he home, I don't want nobody to, prison is the worst place on earth, y'all. That's why I was so upset when them boys did that stream, and I ain't gonna say no names. If you know, you know. They did that stream from prison. I was appalled, disgusted, outraged, because prison is no place to glamorize or make fun of. So, Ralo was coming home, but the reception that he's getting.
Action, 12 can't stop shit. 12 can't stop shit.
Say I can't say that I'm shocked, but I would have thought more, man. You got people out there honking the horn, and like this man kept it silent and he did his time and came home a G, or came home respected. He shouldn't even be respected at this point, y'all. And it's not about the streets. It's about practicing what you preach. Ralo preached F the police, stand on morals. I ain't like these rappers. But then he got locked up, and that's the first thing he was hollering. All these rappers do this. So for the people that's confused and don't know how Ralo told, listen to this paperwork that has been discussed at length that was found after Mr. Davis' arrest that reference what we believe is drug trafficking language. It simply pays Ash $40,000. Mr. Davis had just been arrested. So those could very easily been blank, Reading that document wouldn't necessarily tip anybody off that Mr. Joshua would be a target of the investigation. And so we get to the proffer that took place on June blank, the meeting that took place on June 6th, 3 days later, according to the document that Mr. Steele entered. 5 days later on June 11th, we know that there is a phone extraction done of Mr. Davis' phone. We also know there was a physical review of the phone that was done at the same time as the proffer. So on June 6th and on June 11th, we know that that phone had been reviewed. United States filed its motion noting the conflict, and then we later filed the brief that really fleshed out the conflict. So, Your Honor, I believe that this is a situation, as Mr. Steele has argued, that Mr. Davis has sort of been kept from moving his case along because of the conflict. His conflict arose, and it was the government that put it forth to Mr. Steele and to Mr. Joshua and raised it before the court. And further, Your Honor, we acknowledge that Mr. Joshua had a conflict and that Mr. Joshua brought Mr. Davis in for a proffer. And that's why blank acknowledged in Mr. Steele's motion that came out of that proffer. Now he wants to go a step further and say that we can't use information that came out of the consent for the phone, for which we had a search warrant as well. But the government has taken the precaution to raise this in a timely fashion, to raise this conflict to Mr. Steele and to Mr. Joshua. I think the court would blank, and I would have blank, I frankly said, if not something that we blank, we came to easily, of finding that his lawyer was not just a lawyer, had a conflict. But even of a conflict, Mr. Steele objected, and now the idea is that it was a conflict, but it wasn't a waivable blank, a non-waivable conflict. It was just an issue with him being in on the marijuana business. But I'm blank. We informed Mr. Steele prior to the hearing on the conflict of our thoughts about Mr. Joshua and his status in this case, and his status as a target of investigation. So we would argue that given these dates, that there is no evidence Mr. Winchester testified the one proffer among the co-defendants about when that involved even more mention of Mr. Joshua. That was with respect to the affidavit. No mention of drug trafficking, and then the other mention and the other person proffer that occurred prior to June 6th. Those questions were about Mr. Jones. And Mr. Steele wants to make the leap that if we knew about Mr. Jones, we should have known about Mr. Joshua. And that is just not borne out by the facts. And so, Your Honor, we believe the evidence shows if there is no evidence that the United States operated, under the knowledge that Mr. Joshua had a conflict, and certainly I'd be remiss if I didn't say but blank. And we absolutely pushed back on the idea that we knew about this conflict and tried to capitalize on it, or that we somehow facilitated this by intentionally not reaching out to Mr. Steele. That allegation, I push back on that as aggressively as I can, because that's not at all supported by the facts. And it's not at all sort of how my office does business. And so for those reasons, Your Honor, we argue that he's not met his burden to establish a prima facie case to show that we are operating under a conflict, and his motion to recuse the prosecution team should be denied. The court. Do you want to respond, Mr. Steele? Mr. Steele, we trust this honorable court. We will leave it in your hands. You heard the testimony. I don't agree with the characterization of Mr. Winchester's testimony. The way Mr. Buchanan blank, it was not blank. We're talking about Ash Joshua in the affidavit. And that's how his name was introduced. It was introduced directly in the context of crimes. Tell us about Ash Joshua's relationship with Terrell Davis. In addition to that, the government blank is true. I found out on or about July 24, 2018 of a potential meeting that I was not in on June 6, 2018. But to say that I could have worked out the case, no problem, with the government is not true and is borne out by the defendant's exhibit number 19 admitted today for purposes of this hearing when Mr. Buchanan writes to himself and to counsel Joshua. It was my understanding that Mr. Davis plans to cooperate and resolve this matter. If so, I don't understand why we're having another detention hearing. Please advise. I'm available if you'd like to talk. Now I'm going to break it down real quick for the people that don't know. Because I ain't played. Now I'm going to break it down real quick for the people that don't know because that wasn't all the paperwork. Like I said, I did a video on it. You can go back and watch it. 30 minutes, maybe 40-minute video. Detailed everything Ralo did. But what Ralo attempted to do in this situation is Ralo heard from somebody in the prison that he can reach out to these Mexicans and they can take his charge for him. He was going to pay him. This is the play. And that's why I think the play was ran on him. It's 2 videos I did on it. And he got a letter. It all started with a letter through the mail. Of somebody reaching out to Ralo. He was talking about a fan. And he said, yo, I can help you out with this. You know? If you give me this money, I got people back in my country that you can tell on, you know, and you'll come home and they'll take the rat. Now, for people that got common sense, y'all know that don't make any sense at all. Like, how are you going to just tell on somebody? Like, where's the evidence? We talking about the federal government. You can't just say, look, I got it from him. Where's the paper trail? It has to be some type of evidence. So, in my opinion, I think that was a play being ran on Ralo the whole time. Now, once he got in a meeting with these people, it didn't work at all. It didn't work. His play was 10 for you and they crushed it. And they started asking him more information. Now, Ralo tried to get out this information by offering up his phone. Now, when he gave up his phone, it was information in that phone, you know, drug transactions and things like that, you know, text messages, you know. But the reason why Ralo couldn't use this information because another thing that was in that phone was the lawyer that Ralo was using owned the weed farm. And his partner that Ralo lawyer owned the weed farm with was Ralo's supplier. Now, of course, that's a conflict of interest. You know, how is this lawyer going to be representing you when he's possibly implicated in the crime? Can't do that. So, this prosecutorial misconduct hearing where all this paperwork came out was about the federal government used the information that Ralo gave them through the phone. But Ralo didn't get a deal off of it because basically, because the conflict of interest, everything that he told them was scratched. So they built the information, they built the investigation off the information they got from the phone, but Ralo didn't get a deal. So that's why Ralo was saying he didn't tell. But he did tell. You gave information. Somebody got arrested. I think it's a guy by the name of Manu Jones. And he just didn't benefit off of it. So that don't mean you didn't tell. Ralo just tried to run the play and had the play ran on him. That's what happened to him. And I don't like the fact that he's trying to sit here and play stupid and play on people's intelligence like it ain't obvious what he did. And even if it didn't go your way, you still show signs of potential. If put in a pressure situation, Ralo showed every sign that he's ready and willing to cooperate. The man was trying to cooperate after 2 months of being arrested, man. Now you got these guys, whoever these guys is, I'm sure they probably some of his fellas, some of his, you know, his comrades, welcoming him home with open arms, and he don't deserve it. He don't deserve it because he's untrustworthy. He's sneaky. Now Ralo had Get Dough, and I'm gonna side with Get Dough on this one. You know, a lot of people been giving him a hard time saying he clout chasing. But imagine being in Get Dough shoes, the guy that did time in prison, right? Came home, did 10 years when he was young. I think he said he was like 16. You know, he showed proof. Stayed silent, didn't tell on nobody. Now he rocking with Ralo throughout this whole bit. You talking about 5 years in. You sending them over. You doing things for him. Then you find out almost at the tail end of the bit that the man tried to tell. And he did get somebody arrested. Well, his information in his phone got somebody arrested. Man, that's deceitful. And it's hurtful. So that's why Get Dough is exposing them like this. That man is hurt. And I understand it for people that been told on. That ain't nothing to play, man. That can crush you to your soul with somebody that you respected. Break the code. And that's what Ralo did, man. He broke the code. So, yeah, I'm happy he home. But what I want to see is who's going to embrace him, you know. You expect the street level guys to embrace him, you know, because a lot of these guys ain't standing on morals and principles. Right now in America, in the streets, people is going to value money over morals any day. It's crazy, but that's the world that we living in. People will support a rich rat. And that's what Ralo is going to be. That's what he is, a rich rat. What I'm interested in saying is who in the rap game going to support it. Because it's obvious. It's a fact. It's not speculation. The man told. And you got all these so-called rappers that claim to be street guys and claim to stand on principle. Are they going to embrace him? What y'all think, man? How do y'all think Ralo homecoming is going to be in the industry? And is y'all even feeling Ralo? I know I ain't. I swear, yo, it hurt me, yo, when I found out he told, man. I could have shed a tear, yo, and I don't even know nothing about Ralo. Just off the respect that I had for him, you know, the things that he did for his community. I'm like, yo, Ralo was a solid dude, yo. You know? The things that he was doing, that's stuff that I would do if I was ever in that type of situation. You know, have his people living rent-free. But he broke all the morals and codes and ethics that he promised that he stood on. You know, that he probably committed crimes on behalf of, I mean. And he broke them. And it can't be respected. Not over here, not in my opinion. But let me know how y'all feel about it. This is Keep It G News. Make sure y'all subscribe to the channel.
Nigga can't do what I do. Y'all niggas can't copy me. Let's keep shit G. Let's keep shit G. Let's keep the shit G. Let's keep shit G. Let's keep shit G.